Hello guys, welcome to a new video where I will talk about the dependency management of Python with Poetry and what are the differences with PIP. Let's go, but first I will just ask you to subscribe to my channel. This video belongs to a playlist where I built a complete backend with Python and Flask. Poetry, as PIP, is a Python dependency management. The major difference is that Poetry generates a log file with the exact version and hash of each version installed. This ensures me, when sharing the project, that the exact same version will be used everywhere to run the project. I will continue to have the rules to add the dependencies, the constraints about the versions number as with PIP, and other features. Let's take a look by examples. I can directly create a project structure with Poetry, with the following command. This will automatically create the main files of Poetry, which is the pyproject.toml and the project structure, with the root package and the test package. Alternatively, I could have done this. Poetry init, which will only create the pyproject.toml. Now, to add dependencies to my project, I just write poetry add Flask with the name of the dependency, or I can start by searching. I can search by the name. It will list me all the dependencies which match this name. I will choose Flask. Without specifying the version information, it will take the latest stable version. If I want a specific version, I have to do it this way. Okay, let's now see my dependency. It seems that the dependency wasn't installed. In fact, Poetry creates a virtual environment for the project by default. Calling Python this way, I use the default Python installation. To use the virtual environment that Poetry created for me, I must enter into the Poetry shell. Now I am in this virtual environment. This time it founds the Flask dependency. I could also have done it this way. I tell Poetry to run this command, Python. And this command, Python, was run inside the virtual environment. And here I can import my dependency without any problem. Let's see what more configuration has Poetry. As I said, here is the virtual environment created by default. If I change this value to false, the dependencies will be installed in the default Python environment. I can also configure this value locally only for the project. This created me a poetry.toml file, where will be located the local configuration. Another interesting configuration is the location of the virtual environment. By default, it uses the Poetry installation directory, but I can specify to install all the dependencies inside the project itself. This will create the already known venv folder with all the dependencies inside. What to create a virtual environment? If I deploy my application inside a Docker container, where it will run alone, there is no need to create a virtual environment. I can install all the dependencies directly inside the Python installation directory. But working locally on my personal computer, where I have plenty of other projects, this becomes very interesting, as I don't want other projects' dependencies to interfere with this project. Having each project separated in a virtual environment lets me isolate the projects and make sure I won't have any dependency conflict. Why to create a virtual environment inside the project or inside the Poetry installation directory? It won't change if I deploy the application in a standalone container or with other applications. Each application will have separated environments. It won't either change if I'm working on my personal computer with multiple projects. The only case I saw it's very useful is having multiple users' accounts in the same computer. As the Poetry installation directory creates the cache directory inside the user's domain, I will need to install again all the dependencies for each new user which logs into the computer. If I have all the dependencies inside the project itself, it doesn't matter how many users logs into the computer. Poetry will always look inside the project for the dependencies. Nevertheless, this is a very rare case. Okay, let's continue. Let's take a look at the files Poetry created. I have the pyproject.toml, the poetry.lock, and the poetry.toml. The pyproject.toml describes the metadata of the project. The name, the description, the version. It also lists the dependencies and the development dependencies, the runnable scripts to create, and some plugin configurations. Poetry.lock will contain the exact version of all the dependencies. Before, when I've added the Flask dependency, it also installed me some other required dependencies. Poetry.lock will register all those dependencies with the exact version and the MD5 code to verify them. This way, when somebody else wants to set up this application on its computer, Poetry will look at the Poetry.lock file and install exactly the same version. This will avoid problems of different versions between people. And the last one, poetry.toml, lists all the local configuration of Poetry, the location of the virtual environment, and the needs of the virtual environment. Let's take a look deeper at pyproject file. As with PIP, I can specify the version number of each dependency, or some kind of condition. Here I specify that I want a version higher than 202 but less than 3.0. This way, I want a higher version than 202 but less than 2.1. And this way, I want only the version 202. I can also specify some more complicated conditions. Per platform, for Windows, I want this version, and for Linux, I want another one. Here, for Windows, I want the fixed version 202, and for Linux, I want a version 202 or higher. The only accepted values for the platform are Win32 for Windows, Linux for Linux, and Darwin for Mac OS. Let's see now how to create a runnable script to start my application. This can be done with the setup file with a lot of metadata, but also with Poetry. And now, to generate it, just type poetry install. And I can run it this way. Of course, I can have several scripts to run different parts of my application. Poetry install will install all the dependencies listed in my poetry.lock, if the file is present, or create from the pyproject.toml. Alternatively, I have Poetry update, which will look for the latest version of each dependency listed in the pyproject and create or replace the poetry.lock. It will look for the latest version upon the criteria specified in the pyproject file, of course. And both will generate the scripts. Take into account that the poetry.lock file seems a quite large file, but it isn't. It's a file that should be committed in your Git repository to ensure all your team is using the same dependencies. Okay, let's do a quick recap of what I've done in this video. I can create a project with Poetry init or Poetry new. I can search for dependencies with Poetry search and add them with Poetry add. I can use a virtual environment with Poetry Shell or Poetry Run. I have manipulated the configuration locally or globally with Poetry config. I have three main files: pyproject.toml, which describes the metadata of the project, poetry.toml, which contains the local configuration, and poetry.lock, which contains the exact dependencies to use. And finally, poetry install to install the dependencies from the lock file, or poetry.lock to regenerate a new poetry.lock file. The differences between Poetry and PIP is that Poetry is an all-in-one tool. On the other side, with PIP, you will need to manage the dependencies with PIP itself, the virtual environment with virtual env, and the scripts with setup tools. Alternatively, there are other tools like conda or pipenv, which are quite similar. I hope you liked the video. Don't forget to click on the like button to subscribe to my channel and see you in another video. Bye!